Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever thought about how a text could literally challenge the very laws of language? We're talking about a level of eloquence, structure, and perfect word choice that honestly leaves linguists completely stunned. Today, in this explainer, we're going to explore the Qur'an's famous linguistic challenge by looking at one of its shortest, yet most profoundly complex chapters, Surah Al-Ikhlas. To really get this, we first need to look at the challenge laid out in the text itself. Right in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 23, it says, "If you have doubts about what we have sent down to our slave, produce another chapter equal to it." You see, this isn't just a dare to write a pretty poem. It's a challenge of absolute perfect word choice. It's the idea that every single word, where it's placed and how it relates to the words around it, is entirely deliberate. It carries weights of meaning that aren't always obvious at first glance. And this incredible challenge is perfectly demonstrated in a chapter that pretty much every Muslim in the world memorizes as a child, Surah Al-Ikhlas. Here is our roadmap for this theological detective story. 1. The linguistic challenge. 2. A hidden conversation. 3. Addressing the Jewish credo. 4. Al-Wahid versus Al-Ahad. 5. Addressing the Christian credo. And 6. A universal message. Let's start with part 1, the linguistic challenge. We're going to see how Surah Al-Ikhlas is a prime example of breaking the natural conventions of language through sheer rhetorical brilliance. Here's the English translation of the text. It's literally just 4 brief lines. Say, "He is God the One, God the Eternal. He begot no one, nor was he begotten. No one is comparable to him." Now, on the surface, sure, this reads as a straightforward declaration of monotheism. But Professor Angelika Neuwirth, a major scholar of Quranic studies, made a fascinating academic discovery. She found that this short text isn't just a standalone statement, it is actually a brilliant, multi-layered response to 2 major historical declarations of faith. Moving to part 2, a hidden conversation. What we're actually looking at here is a multivocal dialogue. This single, tiny chapter bridges centuries of theology simultaneously. Now, what's really interesting about this is how perfectly these texts align. On one side, we have the Nicene Creed from 381 CE. In the middle, the Jewish credo from Deuteronomy 6:4, and on the other side, Surah Al-Ikhlas. When you map them out visually, you can literally see how specific phrases in the Quranic text act as direct mirrors, and sometimes direct inversions of both the Jewish and Christian credos. It is an incredibly dense piece of linguistic architecture. Which brings us to part 3, addressing the Jewish credo. Let's break these down one by one. To fully grasp what's happening, we need context. We need to understand the historical circumstances that prompted this specific revelation. According to the scholar Al-Wahidi, a Jewish group approached the prophet seeking a description of God based on their Torah. They specifically asked, "Describe to us your Lord. What is he made of? And to which species does he belong?" It was in direct response to these highly specific theological questions that Surah Al-Ikhlas was revealed. And just observe how it responds. In Deuteronomy 6:4, the famous declaration is, "The Lord is one," using the Hebrew keyword echad. The Quranic response in Surah Al-Ikhlas is, "He is God the One," using the Arabic keyword ahad. Professor Neuwirth points out that this is an unmistakable, audible citation across linguistic borders. The Arabic ahad is entirely designed to resonate perfectly with the Hebrew ahad. That phonetic overlap is striking, creating this incredible direct audio link between the 2 texts. But you might be wondering, how does the text actually signal to the listener that it's intentionally quoting something else? It does this through a fascinating linguistic concept called ungrammaticality. This is a term coined by the researcher Michael Rifitere, and it essentially means a deliberate verbal irregularity that serves as a dual sign. Think of it like a giant linguistic Easter egg. In Arabic grammar, the expected word at the end of that specific sentence, especially for the rhyme position, would actually be the adjective wahid. But using the noun ahad instead, which is technically irregular in that exact grammatical context, the text builds a bridge. It forces the listener to pause and realize, oh, wait a minute, this is referencing another text where this form is completely normal. Let's look closer at part 4, Al-Wahid versus Al-Ahad. This distinction is absolutely crucial. Why is this exact word choice so structurally profound? Well, the word al-wahid, which simply means the number 1, appears 22 times in the Qur'an. But al-ahad, which conveys an uncountable, entirely singular entity, appears only once in this specific context in Surah Al-Ikhlas. In fact, scholars note that there is absolutely no Arabic literature that ever uses the word ahad by itself in a positive way outside of this surah. No way, right? It is a completely unprecedented word choice, showing us it was painstakingly selected to respond to that specific Jewish credo. So the crucial point is how these two words function theologically. The great scholar Imam al-Razi noted distinct differences that really highlight the depth of this choice. First, al-Wahid is included in al-Ahad, but not the other way around. Second, al-Ahad indicates unmatched uniqueness. It literally cannot be added to or divided into fractions. And third, al-Wahid simply affirms oneness, while al-Ahad actively negates the existence of any others. It perfectly, unequivocally excludes any partners in God's essence. Now for part 5, addressing the Christian credo. Because as if responding to one major theological framework wasn't enough, this exact same 4-line chapter is simultaneously responding to something else entirely. The Nicene Creed, which is absolutely central to Christian theology, declares that Jesus was born, not created. Surah Al-Ikhlas, verse 3, directly echoes this rhythm, but rhetorically inverts it. It states, Lam yalid wa lam yulad, or he begot no one, nor was he begotten. It establishes a deeply powerful form of negative theology, using an emphatic double expression to structurally mirror the very creed it's rejecting. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point regarding theological mirroring. Let's look at the word homoousios. It's a Greek theological concept from the Nicene Creed that means equal in nature or of one substance. Surah Al-Ikhlas concludes by saying, and no one is equal to him, using the Arabic word kufwan. Just like ahed, this remarkably specific word kufwan occurs only this one single time in the entire Qur'an. It acts as a direct, rigorous reproduction and rejection of the Greek homoousios. It definitively, once and for all, shuts down the concept that any created being could possibly share God's essence. Finally, part 6, a universal message. So what is the ultimate impact of these hidden, multi-layered conversations? By brilliantly translating, mirroring, and reforming these older texts, the surah does something truly remarkable. It takes a localized, confession-specific response, answering a specific group of people at a very specific point in time, and it transfers it into a universal declaration. Through incredibly precise, unprecedented word choices like ahad and kufwan, it creates an absolute definition of monotheism that is meant for all of humanity. I want to leave you with this final, truly mind-boggling thought. How can a mere 4-line chapter simultaneously answer complex historical questions, flawlessly debate distinct theological creeds across entirely different languages, and define absolute monotheism for billions of people? The sheer structural complexity of this text is just staggering, and it honestly makes you want to explore even more of these incredible linguistic mysteries. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.